What's up guys, it's Michael here. In this video, we're gonna cover what type of goals you should set in your life in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on. So let's get into it. So I read this article from CNBC and they're explaining what you should do in every age bracket in the span of a decade. And when I look at it, this mainly applies for a majority of people who are not gonna own any businesses, who are not going to basically try to go out the norm and build a scalable business or any income that goes beyond and above the normal. If you want to live that type of lifestyle, this I see as it's a really great advice from CNBC. So I'm going to break it down and make it easier to digest for a majority of people, because what their concept is basically earning money in a slow way, but at the same time, really basic, sustainable. You don't really put much thought to it. You don't have to work as hard as people who are, say, trying to start a business and try to do it as fast as possible. So let's get into it. So the first, within your 20s, you should cover your basics. So meaning is when you're 20 years old, you're still in the college life. And maybe you're working part-time, maybe you have an inheritance from your parents, and some people are fed with a golden spoon. But in the basic sense of this case is meaning is you're trying to get your feet wet. You're starting to get into the job market and you want to understand how the economy works, because once you get your college degree and once you find a job, it's completely different what you learn in class. Majority of the stuff you learn in class will not be applied in the workplace, because the workplace, you're gonna need social communication skills. Plus, your degree was telling you or telling your employer that you're certified to do this job. But at the same time, when you do that job, there will be a lot of things that is not covered in class, meaning you got to figure out yourself from there. So what do you mean by covering your basics, meant by CNBC? Meaning is you gotta first, when you all the income you make, don't spend it all. Have something like emergency funds. I made a previous video how you can break down your income and cover each section bracket. For example, I made 5 brackets. For example, emergency funds, you have your business expense, you have your fund category, and the other 2 is whatever you want to use. Food, necessities, maybe you use it for other types of investments, stuff like that. So in the first decade, they suggest you to start building that habit, which I agree with them. If you are not going to become a business owner, this is the way to go. Maybe make small minor investments. Always save an emergency fund just in case you lose your job. And for example, the pandemic is the perfect example of what not to do. Majority of the American population is they don't have emergency funds. And when they lose their job, they need time to pick themselves back up again. So going down to your 30s. When you hit around your 30s years old, between the 30 and 40 mark, CNBC suggests that you should go for your goals. And in that point, I actually agree with them. So majority of the people, more that time, it's probably gonna kind of stick what they do in their 20s. Maybe they go to vacation, majority of them. They maybe want to enjoy their life, because between your 20s to 30s and into your 40s, that's the time you have the most amount of energy. You're physically fit. You're in the peak of mental life. You're most likely gonna start a family. That's the time they suggest you to go for what you're looking for. For example, maybe it's time to buy a house. All the income you save in your 20s. And maybe it's time to make that step, make a big purchase. So that is what they suggest. And the faster that you can clear all your debt, which should be done within your 20s, the better chance you can build a business or some type of income or secondary income or side hustle to work on whatever goals you're looking for. And I completely agree with them. From 20s to 30s, that's covering your basics. 30s to 40s is time to set your mindset for the goals you're looking for. And the goals you're looking for, I can say majority of people looking for a house. That's the first major one that a lot of people want to do. Because who wants to live in an apartment or live in a condominium or townhouse the rest of their lives? The American dream is to own a home, own your own property, own your own backyard, maybe own your own car within that property. So once you get past your 30s, you hit to your 40s. So in the 40s, they suggest that you have a little fun, meaning is you start taking more vacations, you start going on parties, trips, or meet up with new friends and go on boat rides, joy rides, anything you guys want to do. And in that case, I partially agree with them, because during that time, once you hit the 40s and 50s, that is where you start going downhill. 40s past, your body will start going downhill, and people who are starting to hit that age, they will understand it, because I can see that like your vision, for example, will be the first one. That's the most noticeable. Like you won't be able to see as well as you did back in your teenage years or even your 20s, even your 30s. You notice your vision is starting to wane. And you also notice your physical strength is not as much what you had back in 30s and especially in your 20s. So during that time, it is time for you to relax, start to settle down, maybe make some adjustments, or in some cases, people might have a midlife crisis, which is really unfortunate. And hopefully, you as my viewer do not put yourself in that situation. Going down to your 50s. In the 50s, they think you should ramp up retirement savings. Okay, this advice from CNBC, I find it kind of awkward because ramp up your retirement savings. You shouldn't be doing that day one. Meaning, like I mentioned when you were in your 20s, and I made a video previously on building your investment portfolio, having different groups of categories and brackets. You should have been doing your retirement savings since day one. So in their case, I believe they want to put something there, so they said ramp up retirement savings. But in my case, I think this is like only if you didn't invest at all, then maybe you should, ramp up retirement savings. But if you did it correctly, you shouldn't start it around literally when you start working. That's the time you should start building that financial portfolio. So in this article, saying that when you get up to your 50s, you have to ramp it up. No, you shouldn't be doing any of that. You should be continually doing what you did in your 40s, going all the way forward. And the last one they mentioned is in your 60s, ease into your golden years. Correct. Once you hit the 60-year-old mark, you have a lack of energy. A lot of things you do, you'll be a lot more tired. You can't be doing really crazy physical sports anymore, such as skiing, mountain climbing, maybe anything that's more relaxing, like badminton, pickleball. People, during that time, you're going to feel a lot of aches and pains because between your 50s going forward, and especially your 60s, you'll start to have a lot more health problems. The most major degrade would be your vision, physical strength, skin, unfortunately, losing elasticity. Then at the same time, your mental capability, meaning is, like, let's say before, you used to be able to memorize stuff. Like, for example, when I was writing the script, I was able to memorize it really easily. And maybe down the line, I'll have a harder time, so I'll have to use a teleprompter instead. So that is one major thing. Technically, many major things will go down the line. But overall, building your financial portfolio, and what they say in this article is, start as early as possible. Meaning is once you start working, you should build a financial habit of taking all your income and split into brackets and start building from there. And for investments, you should always put some type of investment every time you get your paycheck. And for your fund brackets, just keep that a smaller amount or keep that to a set amount every year or month. So if your income grows, then your fund bracket will grow. Meaning is they will force you to build a habit is if you want to spend more money, for example, buying Louis Vuitton, Gucci, maybe buying new cars, then instead of following the CNBC guide, become a business owner, build a business. So with your 20s to 30s, instead of basically working for someone else, start your own business and try to make it work and grow. Just keep working at it. Keep